In 2002, the United States Department of Justice formed the Corporate Fraud Task Force. According to the Department of Justice, the task force was formed to combat corporate fraud and punish corporate wrongdoers. From 2002 to 2008, the work of the Corporate Fraud Task Force led to more than 1,300 corporate fraud convictions, including convictions of over 200 corporate CEOs and presidents. In 2009, President Obama established the Financial Fraud Task Force in an effort to strengthen efforts to combat financial crime, which essentially acted to replace the original Corporate Fraud Task Force. Both task forces were created as a result of historic and devastating acts of corporate wrongdoing, including the Enron fraud in 2001 and the financial meltdown of 2008. But while both task forces were born out of financial fraud, the comments from the administrations who created these agencies alluded to the principles that have been rooted in this country from the beginning. The hopes and desires of nearly every American since the formation of our country. The very fabric of our democracy must be woven with honest people at the foundation of capitalism. Every American needs to be able to live with the peace of mind that they won't fall victim to corporate fraud or that someone will be there to fight for them if they are. If I were to ask you to name examples of corporate fraud, most of them would be of the financial fraud variety. But the fact of the matter is that corporate fraud is not limited to financial fraud. We have too many instances of corporations lying to consumers about their manufactured products. In this regard, the cigarette and asbestos industries may be the most infamous of the corporate purveyors of spin and sleight of hand. No fraud is acceptable. When corporations lie about the dangers of their products, when companies cover up what they know or misrepresent their knowledge to the American public. When these wrongs do occur, good, honest, hard-working Americans suffer, sometimes with their lives. By way of example, over 440,000 Americans die annually from cigarette-related deaths. There are literally mountains of documents and evidence that cigarette manufacturers lied to the public about the dangers of smoking. They fabricated studies to support their claims that cigarettes were actually good for you. Doctors, actors, and famous sports figures were lured by cigarette companies to do commercials telling people how wonderful smoking was. We now know that those were all lies. Lies of the very worst kind. Lies that killed people. And regardless of the nature of the fraud, there's only one reason that corporate executives lie to the public, whether they be consumers or shareholders. You know the reason, but I'll say it anyway. It is all about the money. If money is the root of all evil, then nobody is more evil than the corporate executives who lie to the public and place the safety of you, me, my children, your children, behind their greed. Well, I agree with little that George W. Bush did during his presidency, his creation of the Corporate Fraud Task Force, and the fact that criminal prosecutions are now available against corporate wrongdoers should be applauded.